lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and
He missed the complete. That is crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
In the 60s, the British Grand Prix alternated between Silverstone and Brands Hatch. And while the former track was the track of choice in 67, because the latter track is no longer in the Grand Prix rotation, for many, when associating F1, the 60s, and Britain, the connection is made to Brands Hatch. And going there today is the Lotus 49 World Cup Championship presented by Tidal Influence. It's the penultimate round of a 12-round schedule that celebrates the 50th anniversary of Colin Chapman's beloved creation. And all the action, from green flag to victory donuts, can be seen live as it happens here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. From Old Blighty, welcome to GSRC's Countdown to Green. I'm Bill Soupzon, filling in for Joe Peak, who is at this very moment still hunting for his parked car somewhere outside of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, is my longtime partner, Adam Forever Young. Turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is our director, Amjad Yaman, and Dougie Beard is the camera guru. If you brought cyberspace into your place, then over the next 10 streaming award-worthy minutes, GSRC will bring you all the storylines, all the stats and facts you'll need to appreciate the 25 laps of simulated retro open-wheel racing that will be streaming your way. This broadcast is made possible thanks to Tidal Influence, an ecological consulting firm based in Long Beach, California, that restores wetlands, saves and studies endangered species, and educates children about our environment. For more information, go to TidalInfluence.com. Now, to fully appreciate what happened last round, I want to take you back 50 years to 1967. Not because it was the debut of the Lotus 49, thanks to Colin Chapman, or the very first time that champagne was squirted in Victory Lane, thanks to Dan Gurney at Le Mans. No, because that year I was just an innocent first grader at St. Matthew's Elementary School. Gunther Schinhofen was his name. He was a big, mean, mustachioed fifth grader that tormented all the first graders by over and over stealing their lunch money. One time, at the morning recess hours before lunch, Gunther was making his usual rounds, strong-arming the younger kids for change. In a show of spontaneous unification, a dozen or so first graders made an unrehearsed, organized assault on the bully and beat the living tar out of Gunther. It was the greatest display of individuals deciding to unite for the common good I thought I would ever see, only until it was matched by what I saw last round by the drivers in this series. When an internet connection bug caused a handful of drivers to drop out of the race, the remaining drivers united, pulling into the pits, allowing the disconnected drivers to return to the server and to give some type of racing that could happen for the benefit of the fans and the sponsors alike. Wisely, the results were ruled unofficial, but the sportsmanship was spectacular. And so, Adam, we leave France, and like Enrique Tirabocci 91 years ago, we cross the English Channel from France to England to this place, to historic Brands Hatch.
I've got nothing after your story, Soup. Of course, Brands Hatch, a lot of history attached to this place, and been around since the mid-20s, and you made the good point that a lot of people still feel this connection to Brands Hatch and even Formula One when it gets brought up, and a lot of that's because it still retains a lot of the same feel as it did when it was hosting Formula One. I mean, the layouts close to the same, and not undergoing a lot of changes like a lot of tracks have the last couple of years. But of course, Brands Hatch is a 2.3 mile layout here on this Grand Prix circuit, and it is about 3.7 kilometers. It's elevation changes, there's flowing corners, there's tight corners. You pretty much have a little bit of all, but hey, don't just take my word for it. Let's take a lap around Brands Hatch.
All right, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Brands Hatch. Paddock Hill Bend is incredibly difficult to squeeze the most out of in this car. It's bouncing around on entry, it's a curved braking zone, and then the track drops away too. Ease back onto the power smooth and let the compression cause the car to grip. Druid should make for a potential passing zone, but the braking is heavily shortened by the uphill nature. Like any hairpin, square this one off, but in this car, it doesn't always pay off to track out all the way. You have so little time to switch sides for Graham Hill Bend, and this car needs to be settled. Make sure to use up the runoff to the outside, as that's fair game and it helps you carry your speed. Then it's a short blast down to Surtees, where once again, the track curves as you get to the binders. A late apex tends to pay off, but even if you straight line it, the car likes to lose traction. And that can really hurt on the run over Pilgrim's Drop, which is the fastest section of the track. But despite the top end, the braking for Hawthorne is pretty short due to the compression and the fact that the corner is just plain fast. Coming out of there, hold to the left and really focus on your markers because the back half of the track is punishing. Westfield is very blind on entry and the car struggles to find grip on exit. Expect drivers to short shift just to find traction. Dingledale and Sheen are just as treacherous, and the apex isn't visible until you're right on top of it. Once again, not much time to set yourself up for Sterling, where you really need to use the banking to carry your speed. Getting a run off the corner is important because otherwise you could be susceptible to attack into Clark. The crest makes the car understeer mid-corner, and then you'll be fighting to keep the car stable as you get back on the gas. A little lift is needed on the Brabham Straight, but hopefully you've now finished a lap around Brands Hatch.
A great track and another great job by Joe Peak explaining just what these drivers are in for here this afternoon. Now, let me explain what the drivers have been in for all season long. You know, if you watched our last broadcast, and shame on you if you didn't, you heard me go through these points, and since the last round was unofficial, nothing really has changed since last time. Mick Claridge way out in front by 75 points, and unless there's some type of rip in the space-time continuum, he's got this championship locked up with only 2 races left to go. Ove Trengrade, who I'm not seeing on the list of names here racing today, sitting in second for Norway. He is down there. We're seeing him down there a little bit. And then you have Joshua Anderson, the Australian driver there, sitting in third, tied with Michel Dujian, who's not here, and Michael Morrison of the USA. Looking at the team championship, again, Claridge's big success has the UK well out in front. But Australia has like 3 drivers that attack it, and that's why they're sitting in second place ahead of Norway, who only has Trengaray racing for them. The U.S., another one, has a contingency of drivers that are scoring some points. And then you have down there France. That's from Dujignan, his success that he's had. So we went over those briefly. Adam, let's go ahead and talk about the race details.
Yeah, Soup. Of course, we're talking about round 11 of 12. There are no drop weeks in this. We are using, of course, the iRacing official sessions. The car is a Lotus 49, which, if you're not familiar with this car, of course, computers? What are computers? Very mechanical beast. Definitely guys have to be on top of their game to drive this thing. There will be no stops for fuel. The race distance today is 25 laps. There's local yellows only, and as I mentioned, using the iRacing official session. So if you hit 17 instants, your day is done. Fast repair, there is none, and the points are using the 1967 rules, which means they pay to 6th place. Now, the weather right now is different than I think what some of the guys were practicing in earlier. Overcast skies, as sometimes you find in England, and temperature about 74 degrees.
Mick the Quick Claridge is not here looking at the drivers that are on the chart that are qualified. He's a musician, might be out there banging on his drums right now. Adam, we have a few seconds here. Let's talk about AJ Bear. You did a race with him yesterday that kind of, he had an interesting experience.
Yeah, he really did. I'm about 90% sure that he's going to be using paddles to shift today. In the Camel GT Series race, he brought up that he had snapped off his H shifter. So be a little bit different, I think, driving that car today for him.
Well, the car wouldn't go into gear sometimes. You got to force it in there. He needs to use the clutch. That might have helped. All right, qualifying is done. We have a field of 14 drivers who signed up. 11 of them went ahead and put in qualifying time. Sitting on the front row, it's Billy Bob Wright and AJ Bear. The second row is going to be made up of Jack Olstad and Benjamin Soko. Row 3, Bruce Nelson and Brett Ryle. Spots 7 and 8 go to Andrew Eng and Gary Anderson, and I'll take the 5th row, not leaving many for Adam to work through. Andrew Bruno, there's a new name, Andres Bruno, and Hideki Kovisto in the 10th spot. Adam?
Yeah, of course, Hideki been around quite a bit too, along with Ove Trengrade. Ian Bassey back there in row 6, Don Good and Robert Reynolds in 7th. And, one thing we'd like to comment, some of these classic races, a lot of these guys stick together through the different series.
Not sure what Ove, the Norwegian driver, is up to, qualifying back there in 11th position. Maybe he didn't get a fast time. Go ahead.
Yeah, he mentioned he blew his second lap, so he had a problem on his second lap.
Got one in the books, and then when the one that counted, he wasn't able to get done. Gather up the chickens, take cover behind the cows, because the horses are out of the barn, and it is Billy Bob Wright leading the stampede down into the first corner.
Oh, we got one over in the back.
And Snelson does a roll. He gets on his hood. We'll come back and get it again. Everybody does a good job of getting around him. Snelson, who qualified in 5th position, his day is going to end early. Looks like Andrew Ng also had some issues back there trying to avoid that. But meanwhile, up in front, it is our leader. It is Billy Bob Wright opening up, the American driver a little bit on the Koala, A.J. Bear running there in 2nd position. Jack Olstad, another American, back in 3rd. We head down into Hawthorne Bend.
Everybody, for the most part, now single file. So, you know, it's everybody's able to get through that. Andrew Ng looks like he has a little bit of damage here. Figure out how that happened to him. Ian Bassey, I think, ended up looping his car.
I saw Ng going slow back there when we had the car that was on his hood. So we'll see. I think he was able to get around. Right now, Billy Bob Wright not able to get away from the Bear, who is stalking him. AJ running in 3rd. They work through that final Clark curve, heading down, completing the first of 25 laps. Getting credit for leading the initial lap is going to go to the American, Billy Bob Wright. Bear, Olstad, Soko, round out your top 4.
I got to looking at how Andrew Ng got his front nose damage. It was the cones. They must have some pretty tough cones in England.
All right, we're going to go back to the start, take a look at this. You can see on the replay here, everything was going good. See where the contact was. Yeah.
Ben Zoko ended up coming down and touching wheels, and in these cars, you touch wheels, somebody's going to go for a ride.
Yeah, there are no fenders on these, or even, I guess, what are they called? Kardashians, the little things that cover the back end of the cars they're in that we just watched at Indy today to keep you from having tire contact.
Did you just say Kardashians?
Yes, I did, yeah.
We're having to report the Hideki Kubisto's around here.
Boy, Visto was having a good race, and with some of the top talent out there, was a chance for him to score some points.
Yeah, the Don Good ended up actually, I think, getting the worst part of that deal as he had to take evasive action, ended up losing more time.
Boy, Visto, go ahead.
I was going to say on the Bruce Nelson deal, going back to that real quick, that was just a real gentle rollover. I mean, if he would have been able to get up on all fours, he might have been able to get out of that without any damage.
We've seen that before in these cars. Sometimes they'll right themselves. We're looking at Ove Trengerade. Remember, he's qualified well back, has worked his way now up into 5th position as he gets around Brett Ryle. So Trengerade, the Norwegian driver, he has been trying to get a win all season long, and here he is in a race without Mick the Quick Claridge. He's got his opportunity to do it, and what does he do? He goes ahead and has a horrible qualifying run. He's got to really earn his win if he's going to get one. Billy Bob Wright able to hold off A.J. Bear so far. They remain in order, but now Bear is beginning to be chased down by Jack Olstad. They go down into Hawthorne Bend.
Yeah, it looked like Bear had a kind of a rougher exit right there. Really allowed Olstad to close that gap just a touch, and now they spread out again just a touch, but you can still throw a blanket over top of those top 3, and if they get to racing hard, you got Ben Soko recovering after that first lap, first turn contact there, right there waiting in the wings too to gather up to the top 3.
Soko back there has double ambition. He'd like to see if he can catch up to Olstad, who's about 6.5 seconds up, but he'd also like to hold off the Norwegian who's coming, Ove Trengerade. Running back there. We'll mark that gap. In fact, right now it's 6.5 seconds as they work through here what is going to be starting lap number 5.
Of course,
go ahead, Em.
I was going to say, these guys right now running lap times is about the mid-22s to low 23s, and the best I can manage in practice trying out this car was about a 33, so...
The action is right up front. In fact, here comes the American making a move on the Australian. Gives 2nd position to Jack Olstad. Move the Bear down to 3rd. That little battle has allowed Billy Bob Wright to open up nearly a 1-second lead over the guys who are chasing him.
Seeing that Quivisto had another off track for this race so far, not going Hideki's way.
Koivisto is a good example to never assume. You might think he is a Japanese driver, but no, he races for Finland. Right now he is trying to see if he can get around. He's in battle. Don Good, seeing if he can do something with Koivisto as they race back there for 10th position. There you see Koivisto out in front. Good trying to make good here and see if he can get around, but I don't think so. Gary Anderson is off. He gets the Virginian gets back onto the track. That was a battle for 7th position. He was trying to run down Andres Bruno. Bruno can breathe a little easier now. Up in front, it remains, we look at Andres, up in front it remains the same. Billy Bob Wright trying to go wire to wire. Olstad in second after he got around Bear. And you know, Adam documented it that Zoko has a chance. He's getting in there. He is closing in. He's only 0.8 of a second back and beginning to pick it up. Not able to make up any time is the Norwegian Ove Trengrade, still behind by almost 7 seconds to Zoko.
Yeah, we'll have to watch that gap, but I mean, because that could be another thing too, where if that top 4 gets racing really hard, or even Bear or Soko, if he's able to get up there, Trengrade could start lopping off some of that. But it is a short race today. I mean, we've already clicked off 5 laps. We've only got 20 more to go, so not a whole lot of time to try to make up an almost 7-second gap.
And no pit stops. If these cars have enough fuel and their tires are pretty darn hard, they should hold up without much wear. So you won't be seeing anybody coming in. If you're coming in, you've got an issue and your day is pretty much ruined. We ride on board with AJ Bear right now. Looking ahead at Olstad. On the roadkill cam, puts us right down onto the ground here. One of the things, Adams, that you get an impression out there when we were riding on board is the shrubbery, the trees that line the track. Really gives you that impression of speed that you don't really get sometimes on some of the newer courses that don't have quite the same landscaping.
Yeah, you know, a lot of that's because of some of the modifications tracks have gone through over the years because of safety. And of course, I'm not saying that Brands Hatch isn't safe, but it's not like some of the modern tracks, like the redesigned Nürburgring in Germany, for instance, or even you know, like here in America, the Circuit of the Americas, where everything is just pushed away from the track. Here, I mean, everything's right there, so you get that sense of you know, of closeness and being right there in the elements, and it can it definitely adds a feeling to it.
And of course, this broadcast always celebrates the year 1967, and not just because of the historic pummeling of Gunther Schinhofen, but also, let's look at second position there. Jack Olstad gets very loose. But it's also the year that this car was introduced. And I saw, strangely enough, or coincidentally enough, I was just watching an interview with AJ Foyt and Dan Gurney, who won in an American-built car at Le Mans, 2 American drivers in the same year. And AJ Foyt was we talked about landscaping, that at Le Mans there were no guardrails, they just painted the trunks of the trees white, and that's how you knew where to go at the nighttime. So yeah, things are a little different.
I couldn't even imagine that.
Looking at P12 back here, this is a battle with Reynolds and Ian Bassi. They qualified about 7 seconds off the pace of the leaders, but together they were very close together. In fact, let me correct myself. They were not even able to put in a qualifying or a practice time. Just kind of stuck in late, but right now having a good battle. Reynolds out in front. Ian Bassey in behind. Haven't seen too much of these guys. We welcome them to the broadcast and to the series. And we continue to look at Olstad, who's really putting on a Mick Claridge-like performance, getting the car very loose but able to maintain position. AJ Bear, since he lost that position, has been able to hang on to the back of Olstad, but Olstad is really wrestling that Lotus 49 right now.
If you were with us during the Lotus 79 race earlier today, you saw that those guys, especially in the tail end of the race, really started having trouble with the rear tires. Now, granted, different car, different beast, but that's one thing I'm seeing a lot of is, and granted, I know this car slides around a lot, but even more than usual out of some of these guys today. So you have to wonder, at what point do you start cooking the rear tires?
From what I've heard from Joe Peak, you can actually cook them and they will go away from you, but they're forgiving. If you behave a little bit, they will come back to you. But right now, working now, coming up onto Clark, we look at this battle. We ride on board with AJ Bear, trying to find some way around as they come down onto the main straight. One of the few opportunities maybe is to get close, have a shot to get even in Paddock Hill Bend, and then maybe make a pass in Druids. That's the right-hand hairpin that's coming up right now. You got to keep it off the beach, boys. Drifting really wide as Olstad, using up all the room. Gives a run now to Bear. Let's see if Bear forces the issue. Not now on lap number 9, still with 17 to go. Bear knows he's faster. He doesn't need to get it done right now. Although if he wants to try to get up to Billy Bob Wright, who's going wire to wire, Bear needs to get around him. The gap from Bear up to 1.3 seconds on Soko, not able to close in. He had got it there pretty close. And again, the gap from Soko back to Trengrade, almost 6 seconds. The Norwegian not having any of it today.
You know, looking at Ove, I wonder if something happened to him here in just a little bit, because he lost about 3 or 4 seconds on that gap.
Yeah, it's he's knocked down a little bit. Yeah, he must have had it off somewhere. Just clearly doesn't feel comfortable in the car or at this track.
Yeah, he had closed that gap down to about, he actually gained about a second. I think he had down to about 5.8, I think, at one point. Now he's back. It must have been a timing and scoring problem, because now I'm showing him back to 6. Okay, so he is actually still gaining ground on Ben Soko, just slowly but surely.
From what I've been told, talking to the drivers, that these cars are very sensitive to weather, and you really have to have a setup that works with it. Today, very cold, overcast skies, 74 degrees Fahrenheit, 74 degrees on the track, as there is no sun penetrating the clouds. So that is in using Fahrenheit as the guide. That's a very, very cold track. I wonder if it's just having a hard time for Trengore's setup, just not playing very well to it right now.
Well, now that you started having Olstad and Bear fight just a little bit. I mean, Olstad is having to defend just a little bit from AJ Bear. That's finally allowed William Wright here to stretch out that lead to almost about 2 seconds. Now, the surprising thing is that even though those two are kind of locking horns just a little bit, I mean, we haven't seen too much in the way of side-by-side action. Ben Soko is actually starting to lose a little bit of ground to them also. So there's you're starting to see that top pack separate out just a little bit. Whoa, AJ Bear gets that thing sideways. He's going to lose a little bit of time to Jack Olstad going down the front straightaway here.
There we go. You just see at the bottom of your screen, Billy Bob Wright. I don't want to hear it from the Floridian driver that, come on, GSRC, you never put me on the screen when I'm running 8th, and now when I'm running 1st, I go ahead and get a big lead. You're not putting me on the screen right now. We see it, Billy Bob. Nice going. Billy Bob Wright posted some pictures that Andrew Eng, a truck driver from the Midwest, was down in Florida. Billy Bob took him out, showed him some good seafood restaurants that they don't have in the Midwest. The two got together. Always nice when two iRacers can hook up in real world.
Yeah, that's something that you see a lot, especially at the club level. I mean, I know our Texas club, we usually try to get together for like Lone Star Le Mans at Coda, I think it's October this year. I know the Finns usually try to get together a couple times a year too, but you don't see too much of it on an individual basis, it's really neat when you do see it.
The one Finn who's not together with anybody right now, he's very lonely. 11th place, Hideki Koivisto, running all by himself. He's got about 10 seconds on Ian Bassey in 12th. And I guess that battle wasn't it Bassey and Reynolds we were looking at. That little battle has gone away now as Robert Reynolds running all by himself in 13th position. Looking at that number 8 machine there of Gary Anderson running in 8th. Trying to spread the camera time around. There's a little battle. Andres Bruno. 7th position. Now is this... Oh, this is not... That's... Oh, welcome back to the track. Bruce Snelson there. There you see Snelson on the inside after being on his lid. Let's see, Snelson is only 1 lap down, so I guess he has visions of maybe at least getting his lap back, finishing on the lead lap. Remember, points are awarded for the Lotus 49 World Cup Championship, but they're also earning points for the iRacing Championship as well.
I was just watching Ove Trangereed here just a minute ago, and he had closed that gap down to about 5 seconds. He had gained another second.
Let's look at Gary Anderson for a minute. This looks like... Can't really tell where this maybe... Surtees? I'm not sure where this is. I have him nosing it into the wall. There it is. A little bit of Velcro on the wheels of the car and the wall there as it hit and just kind of stuck in there, and his day is done. So there will be no points there for Gary Anderson. Of course, Gary, if I can find out my timing and scoring, the racing out of the Virginias. Always seems wrong to me that the two Virginias, when they put those together, it's plural, Virginias. When they put the Carolinas together, north and south, it's always Carolina. Doesn't seem right. Just a pet peeve of mine, that something I can fill with here when we only have 12 drivers on the lead lap right now, and not a real battle in sight as Olstad has pulled away from Bear. You're watching the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the Lotus 49 World Cup Championship. Let's go ahead and look at Ove Trangereed right now as he's going to make his way around Robert Reynolds. This is not for position, but we'll take a pass wherever we can get it. Oh, I was a little bit behind time, so that actually happened. I saw it. You viewers missed it. Riding on board with the Norwegian driver, racing in 5th. He's got about 20 seconds behind him before he gets to Brett Ryle, and about 5.5 seconds up to the Australian Benjamin Zoko. I'd like to wish a happy Memorial Day to all the American drivers.
I think now that Olsted's been able to separate himself away a little bit from AJ Bear, I think he was gaining just a touch on Wright, but I think that's kind of stabilized a little bit, and I think AJ Bear is trying to get back in the game as well here.
Well, let's go ahead and set an interval for you. If you're scoring at home or just watching alone, you have William Wright, 1.3 seconds up on Jack Olstad as they come around the 9th corner, so they're going to be crossing the start-finish line now. He will be working on lap number 15. 11 to go. You would think it would be a good points day for America as they run 1-2, but the rules for the Constructors' Cup is only the top scoring driver from each nation gets to score points, so they will not be able to combine their points together. But it will be a full 9 points for the Stars and Stripes. And the Australian driver, AJ Bear, going to score what I would believe would be 9-6, I think 4 points for third position. And again, Bear and Zoko both racing from down under. So again, Zoko's points will not count. Trengrade looking to pick up a couple points for Norway. And Brett Rial will score individual points. He'll get a single point for running in 6th, but nothing for his nation.
This is at that point where it's like the top 3 guys are still all within sight of each other, and then everybody else has just kind of separated themselves out right now.
Well, when it comes to the hard charger, obviously it's going to be Ove Trengrade. He started in 11th position, has made his way up to 5th, but somebody who actually... Go ahead.
I was going to say, and you bring up Ove, and he's shaved off another second on that gap there between Ben Soko. I think Soko also had a little bit of a problem here, too, to help out with that, but, at the rate he's been closing, gets a little hot going in there, sideways, and he catches it. So, a few more mistakes like that from Ben Zoko, that's going to put Ove right in the battle for 4th, possibly by the end of this race.
If you're new to watching these cars, that is not the fastest racing line through that corner. Another driver having a good day is the driver in 9th right now, Don Good. He qualified in 13th position. He is up 4 spots. Good racing. I cannot read my timing and scoring. Let's see if we can put up the club there, Director, because I can't read. Let's see where he's racing out of. Out of the West Club. That would be like Arizona, Utah, Colorado, perhaps. It's a small field today. Maybe we'll put out the call. Don, you're welcome to come in and talk to us. Let's find out what state you're in here in the U.S. Now, I'm not talking state of mind. I'm talking location. I'd like to know where you're racing out of right now. Up a front, it's Wright, Olstadt, and Bear. That's pretty much how it's been ever since Olstadt got around AJ early on.
That gap a minute ago between Ove and Ben was what we were in about the 3.5 second range. He's closed down another second on Ben Zoko here.
Looking at Trengrade right there, you can see as the camera goes long, not able to see Zoko in the picture, but he's coming. We were looking for some drama, and we finally found it. There's Benjamin right there, the Australian driver, going over the hill. And there you can see them both. Just coming under the banner right there is Trengrade. Interval now down to just over 2 seconds. Look at that yellow number between the two names. 1.9 right now. But Adam, like my dad always said, catching them on one thing, passing them to another is like milking a rooster. The hard part starts after you catch it. And right now, Zoko out in front. The rooster in the metaphor. Billy Bob Wright, 1.5 seconds ahead, just nursing the gap.
Hearing that Good has spun here.
And he did, it looked like the back half of the course. I think he's going to lose the position to the Finnish driver. I think Clavisto's going to get around him. As does... Oh, he actually goes down a lap as Billy Bob Wright gets around him as well. So Good was having a good day. He now has 1 lap down. Still up 3 spots, though, thanks to the attrition. 7 laps to go here. Round number 11 in the Lotus 49 World Cup Championship. Brought to you by the good guys at Tidal Influence. I'd like to say hi to all of them. They are fans of sim racing.
Yeah, Ian Bassey coming into the pits here, and I don't see any particular reason why he would be pitting. I mean, he does have a little front end damage. He's away now. Maybe just, I don't know, maybe add a little bit of fuel. Who knows?
Bringing out the number 10 car. That is not beyond the realm of possibility. There is a qualifying setup that they can use, and if they forget to switch the setup, obviously you're not going to put in as much fuel for qualifying as you do for racing. Sometimes you come out there in your qualifying setup, realize you don't have enough to finish. Let's go back, check in back on Zoko. See what that interval looks like now. 2.3 seconds. 7 laps to go. Still time for the Norwegian driver to get there. Zoko, one of the members instrumental with bringing GSRC on board to broadcast this event. They race at the same time every week. Here for the West Coast for me, in California, it is about 2:30 in the afternoon on a Sunday. We're seeing that maybe Ing might have had a problem.
Yeah, it looks like he got off. Looks like he just lost the back end and just put her off into the grass. I think he was able to keep it out of the Armco. Yeah, not by much, but he was able to keep it out of the Armco.
The bad news for him, though, was going off is going to cost him a lead lap finish, as now we are down to 7 cars on the lead lap. Only 9 corners here on this track, and surprisingly short. A quick around. So often we don't see a lot of cars. One of the few tracks on the schedule where traffic, actually, backmarker traffic, can be a factor for the leader. Fortunately for Billy Bob Wright, it is a small field today, so he doesn't have to worry about too many of them. Next one up for him would be Andres Bruno, running in 7th position. I'm going to estimate about 10 seconds ahead right now of Billy Bob on the track. Billy Bob running lap times of about, well, Billy Bob's best lap time of 1:22.5. The guy he's trying to run down, Bruno, his best lap time of 1:24.4, so almost 2 seconds slower. It's a possibility that Billy Bob might be able to get there. On your screen for first it says William Wright, but we know Billy Bob from the MX-5 World Tour, where he has raced many a time. He is a veteran there. The Floridian driver goes by the nickname Billy Bob, at least for us.
I'd have to think that out of all the cars you could probably race, racing that Mazda probably helps, at least translates a little bit to this car with almost having like 0 downforce. Obviously, this one's more powerful, wider tires, but they're both beasts in their own right.
They probably brake about as well, though. At least these Lotus cars are tough to get woed up. So, 2 Americans out in front, Billy Bob Wright and Jack Olstad. Olstad, another driver, along with Zoko, instrumental to getting GSRC on board. Plans are underway to broadcast the next 12 races coming up. The time slot may change, but GSRC hopes to be there. Because certainly we love covering the Lotus 49. Got about 6 seconds a second now on AJ Bear. Dubbed the koala because he races out of Australia, obviously. Not sure if he is fond of eucalyptus. Right now running in third. His country mate, Benjamin Zoko, right behind him. Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, you bring up Zoko. He's starting to feel the heat. Ove is only about 1.5 seconds back now. I mean, he's starting to be able to see him in his rearview mirror, and 4 laps to go. So he's got a little bit of time to be able to close that gap even a little bit more.
He's right on board with Ove right now, looking ahead at his prey. It's taken him a long time to get there. He started in 11th position. He got through the first 5 or 6 cars pretty easy. Then he kind of found his pace. He's been running down Zoko for a while. Zoko helped him with a little bit of an off. You can see those stormy skies. Look at those overcast skies keeping the track temperature very, very cool. Kind of appropriate probably for England right now. My wife and I did go to England about a decade ago. We found it very nice. The weather was better than we expected. The food was as advertised.
Meanwhile, our United Kingdom viewers are leaving in droves. Ove is right there on Zoko now. I mean, that gap now 0.3 of a second.
Oh, he's got a good run. Now they go through, this is the trickiest part of the track for me, through what is called Dingledale. Ove really using all the track boundaries to get in there. He is right there now. He's got enough time to do this. With 3 laps to go, he is there. He can find a spot. Now, here comes the sweeping right-hander. This is where the Norwegian would like to get a run. Maybe he can get alongside of the Australian driver who leads as they go down into the sweeping right-hander of Paddock Hill Bend. Don't think he's going to get it down this time. He has one more opportunity, maybe force it under braking. He gets a pretty good run. They both keep it off the beach. Now they head down into Druids. This is where you want to be good on the braking. They both kind of brake the same. They get the car woed up, negotiate the right-hander. Some tough sledding through here if you want to get something done.
Don't you just love this soup in this day and age? Here you are, and you got 2 guys that are on completely opposite sides of the globe from each other in both hemispheres, and they're racing getting ready to race side by side for position.
It is incredible when you actually think about what is going on. A good exit through Surtees there by the Australian driver, able to fend off Trengarade. Now through the sweeping Hawthorne Bend, down into Westfield. Going through the back half of the track again. This is where it's technically tough, and passing is even harder.
That car you saw on the side of the road was Reynolds. He did kind of a half loop out there. He's back underway.
Trengarade clearly faster as Zoko takes a defensive line. That's going to cost him at corner exit. He's going to try to look to the outside. The Norwegian driver taking the defensive line on the inside of Zoko. Now they are 2 by 2 through Clark's curve, looking for the momentum. Maybe the car on the outside might have the drive. No, a great bite off from Zoko as they come across, and I think they're going to be shown the white flag this time. Meanwhile, out in front, Billy Bob Wright is on the working through Druids. He's got that. We'll stay on this battle a little longer. This is the best action on the course right now. They will all have one more bite of each corner coming up. They will not see these corners again.
Ove right now doing his best Roadrunner impression. Beep, beep.
That's it.
A Looney Tunes car. I love it.
Looking for a good drive now off of this corner. Trengarade takes the more conventional line in there, and what that does is the defensive line that Zoko took is going to give Ove a chance to do it as they head down into Hawthorne Bend. Our leaders have cleared Hawthorne Bend and Westfield. They're going through Dingledale right now. We can stay on this one a little while longer. Still not able to get it done as Ove Trengarade. We got to go up front right now as Billy Bob Wright racing out of Florida, the flattest state in the United States. But right now, he's not feeling flat. He is happy as can be as he wins the penultimate round of the Lotus 49 World Cup Championship. Jack Olstad gets second. Bear gets third. Can Zoko hang on? They come out of Clark Corv. It is the Australian driver up in front. He's going to fend off Trengarade. Trengarade looking for some way around, but he runs out of track. Zoko fourth, Trengarade fifth.
You got to hand it to Olstead too with that last little bit of a run there in the last couple of laps. He really closed that gap.
Let's go ahead and look at Brett Ryle there as he's working the last car on the lead lap, looking through Sterling Bend. Didn't get a lot of love from the camera today. We'll stay on him as he negotiates Clark Curve. The American driver finishes in the points. A good day for the Stars and Stripes as they go 1, 2, and 6. What we're going to do right now on the Global Sim Racing channels, we're going to take a short break, but don't go far. We'll be back to run down the entire finishing order, back to some of the drivers, then close up shop. Back in a few. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the Lotus 49 World Cup Championship presented by Tidal Influence. I tell you, I feel like a kid at Christmas time that has to wait to open his presents. They're going to make me run down the finishing order before I get to talk to Billy Bob Wright, who picks up his first win here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Billy Bob is your winner. Jack Olstad, AJ Bear. After Olstad got around him, Bear had nothing for him. They go second and third. Benjamin Zoko, he saw him coming. He was able to hold off the crazy Norwegian Ove Trengarade as they go fourth and fifth. Brett Ryle in sixth position, the final points paying spot. Andres Bruno in seventh. Eighth and ninth goes to Andrew Eng and Hidoke Koivisto in ninth position. 10th spot goes to Bruce Nelson. And since there's only four left, let me just run them down, save Adam having to push his button. Ian Bossy, Don Good, Robert Reynolds, and Gary Anderson go 11th through 14th. They pay us by the name here at GSRC, and I'm going to get a little bonus in my check. Let's go ahead and talk to our race winner now, Billy Bob Wright. The Florida driver picks up his first win ever on a GSRC broadcast. Billy Bob, congratulations.
Hey, I'm going to pull a Sato. Woo! Yes! Yes!
You're,
Nah, man,
hashtag
that was
spoiler
fun.
alert. Hashtag spoiler alert.
They'll never figure that out. Nobody would ever believe it.
That's right. Well, good job. We felt kind of bad because not only did you have a win, it was a nice, easy one for you there. Once you got out in front.
Yeah, no, I can assure you it wasn't easy, man. I was kidding the guys, and I got to go take a shower. I'm soaking wet. I forgot to turn my cooling fan on before the race started, and then I was too concerned because I had pressure the whole time from Jack as usual. But I love this track, and the weather conditions are really good for my driving style. So as I told those guys, it all came together, the conditions and the track. And of course, there were some people missing that helped too. But I'm happy with this one. It was a good win for me.
Hey, look, take a little credit. You beat Ove Trengrade, so you had a name in there.
Yeah, but he's driving the Honda, so it doesn't count.
Hey, you have a real affection for the car, and you're kind of in my age group a little bit there. You're up in a few years. Is that why? Because you like the nostalgia, or is it just the fun of racing this thing?
Well, I originally started driving it because as a young boy, I saw Grand Prix, and my father raced cars for about 20 years, so I was around racing all my life. But honestly, once I started driving this car, it is just such a joy to drive. I've heard the people say that it's very rewarding once you figure it out, and I think that's the biggest point, is that when you get this car right, it is so rewarding to drive it fast. And to me, it's much more fun than any car I've ever driven into service.
I know you're a supporter of what we're trying to do with this, what the series organizers is trying to do, and GSRC trying to get some more, some fresh blood into the series. And we appreciate you sticking with us. It's great to have you racing with us, Billy Bob.
Always a pleasure. Just want to say thanks to my competitors for racing clean and hard as always, and looking forward to hitting the next and final round from this season.
All right, stay out of the trees when we go to Germany.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the broadcast. We'll see you soon.
Billy Bob Wright, a well-deserved winner here today. Let's go ahead and talk to our second-place finisher, another American, so Adam won't have to worry about any translation problems here. Go ahead, Adam. We'll talk to Jack.
Are you trying to say I like to butcher names?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you'd be correct. Hey, Jack, good job today. It looked like you were catching old Billy Bob right there, right toward the tail of the race. If that race would have gone another 3 or 4 laps, do you think you might have had him?
It's hard to say, really. Maybe, although I think that very last lap, I think knowing William or Billy Bob, as everybody knows him, he probably was breathing a sigh of relief because he knew with a good majority of a second lead on me that it'd be hard for me to make that up in the end. So I think he probably kind of cruised a little bit on that last lap, I would imagine. But he and I had a race earlier today that was exactly like that. Only I did one corner cut that made me do a time penalty, and I had to ease up a second and a half, and then I reeled them in again and finished close behind him. But it was like 2 identical races between he and I today, but it was fun. He and we've had battles over the past, I don't know, 2-3 years. Like that, and I love racing with him. He's been hard on me a couple times this season, where he got real close to me, in some of the races, and maybe I slowed up when he wasn't expecting it, so we got collected. But other than those 2 or 3 events, he and I have just had a blast racing together, and I love the guy. He's one of my best friends on this thing, besides Mick and Ben. Ben's my brother from a different mother. So,
well, I got just personal experience when you get close to somebody like that and you are racing them the way you guys sound like you race quite a bit. You're going to have some contact eventually. So,
yep.
But hey, Nürburgring coming up next week. What are you expecting for there?
Well, it's going to be pretty intense for sure, as everybody can imagine. Driving these beasts on the green hell is quite a challenge, but I love it. It's my absolute favorite track. That's not to say that I'm that good on it. I mean, I'm okay on it, but I just love it. It's the king of all racetracks, without a doubt. So I'm looking forward to it.
Well, of course, anything can and sometimes does happen at the Nürburgring, so maybe we'll talk to you again here next week.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks, guys. Go Tidal Influence. Woohoo!
Well, that was Jack Olstead. And hey, Soup, I guess you want to talk to Ben Soko here real quick.
I do. Get another guy responsible for getting the series here on GSRC. It's always good to talk to Benjamin Soko from Australia. Benjamin, good thing if the race was only 25 laps and not 26, because you might have been a spot farther down the order.
Yeah, I don't think I could have held off over much longer than that. I seem to pick up some understeer or something. I don't know why. Maybe it's either tire pressures or something, or just lacking in skill or tensing up, knowing that I could see over catching me. But I started to get a bit of what felt like understeer about halfway through the race, and that meant I lost touch to the guys in front, and then that meant Over could reel me in. But I had a good fun holding him off, because if I just held my line, he would have dived down the inside somewhere. So it was good fun defending from him. I hope it looked good on the cameras too.
Yeah, it was pretty much a race for you of just looking at the timing and scoring, as you really were. You did your best to try to get onto the back of that Olstad and Bear, but you said you lost contact with them, and then other than that, you really weren't challenged very much through the race.
Well, yeah, they not challenged by other drivers. Well, yeah, so I was pushing as hard as I could to keep up with Jack and AJ, and it was good fun watching them battle in front of me. I'm like, oh, good, they'll slow themselves down and I can get involved, but they were just, like tenth of a second a lap quicker than me. So I was pushing as hard as I dare to keep up with them, and they were a little bit quicker today.
Had a few, not really offs, but a few overshooting the apexes a couple times.
Yep, that was me just going, okay, I know they're only a little bit faster per lap than me, and I'm still, within a second or so with them, so I can still catch up. I can still go a little bit faster and catch up, and doing so, I, brake a meter or so later than normal, and then that's all it takes, and you shoot off a bit wide. So thankfully I didn't spin or anything like that, but then I realized that it wasn't going to happen today. Those guys are usually faster than me anyway, so it was just nice to actually be that close to them in a race. So I felt good. It was good result for sure. And I have to apologise to Bruce. At the start there, we were side by side into turn one, and I was planning to just stay around the outside. And I didn't mind if I had lost a spot to Bruce or whatever. It would have been a good battle throughout the race. But as I tried to turn into that corner, maybe I just lifted and turned in at the wrong time over a bit of a bump in that tricky first corner, and it just kicked out sideways, and that meant that I sort of didn't give him enough room on the inside there. So apologies to him. That's my fault entirely, and I'd had all intentions of going side by side through there, but the car decided that it wanted to attack someone, just bite them, so that's what happened today.
Flipping through my notebook here, trying to find if I asked you this question before. I might have. So we're going to get you out on this one. And pardon me if I've asked it before, but it's Sunday here, Sunday afternoon where I am. I believe it's like early Monday morning. What is your personal life like that in Australia you get to race on a work day?
My usual working days are Tuesday to Saturday, so I have Monday off. Although that's changing as of probably week 13. I think I've got a bit of a promotion which is putting me back to Monday to Friday. So hopefully we can do something with this broadcast to enable me to continue to race in it.
We're looking at it. Yeah, very good. And congratulations on the promotion. And more important than the darn promotion, congratulations on a 4th place points today.
Thank you very much. It's a good result today. Thanks, GSRC. Thanks, Tidal Influence.
Okay, there you go, Benjamin Soko. Adam, paycheck is all well and good, but when it comes to your priorities, it's all about the racing points here on the Global Sim Racing channel, right?
That's perfectly right.
Okay, we'd like to thank everybody, including Jack Olstad and Benjamin Soko, who we talked to in the interviews, for promoting and organizing the Lotus 49 World Cup Championship. Thanks to the Tidal Influence guys. They're an ecological consulting firm based in Long Beach, California, that restores wetlands and saves and studies endangered species and educates children about our environment. And remember, now kids, they tell you you're the future, but let me tell you, it's a gimmick, because they said the same thing to me, and I don't know if I really was the future. And they're going to say the same thing to your kids, so enjoy it while it lasts. I promised myself I would not ad-lib these anymore. For more information, go to TidalInfluence.com. Adam?
Thanks to the software and hardware that we use for our broadcast that you can see on your screen. Additional thanks to our musical contributors, Eric Eckholm and Casey Lalonde. You can find their music at the websites listed. The Lotus 49 World Cup Championship presented by Tidal Influence returns next week. That's right, June 4th for the season finale. We're going to the Nordschleife. GSRC will be there, and we hope you join us. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can find it at www.globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSR Channel and Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel.
Finally, on behalf of the man whose voice you just heard, Adam Young, our director Amjad Yaman, and our camera artist Dougie Beard, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.